Imagine for a moment that you hold in your hands the most intimate thoughts of one of the most powerful men in history. Not words written for posterity or grand speeches delivered before crowds, but private reflections, silent meditations on what it truly means to be human in a world full of challenges. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD, was not just the leader of a vast empire. He was a man who faced the same fundamental questions you face today. How do you find meaning in an existence that often seems chaotic? How do you maintain serenity when everything around you appears to be falling apart? How do you live authentically when outside pressures pull you in every direction? His meditations, originally written in Greek as ta eis hauton, which literally means things to oneself, were conceived as a personal journal, a tool for self-reflection never intended for public eyes. These intimate pages reveal an extraordinary man wrestling with ordinary issues, an emperor who ruled half the world, but first needed to learn how to rule himself. As we dive into the 12 sections of his meditations, we discover not just ancient philosophy, but living wisdom that resonates deeply with the challenges of the 21st century. In an age when we are constantly connected, yet often disconnected from ourselves, at a time when we have access to more information than any previous generation, but often feel lost, Marcus's reflections offer a moral and emotional compass. The Stoic philosophy Marcus embraced is not a cold, dispassionate doctrine, as many mistakenly believe. On the contrary, it is a vibrant path to a full life, a practical methodology for cultivating inner serenity without sacrificing a passion for existence. The Stoics did not reject emotions. They understood them, transformed them, and used them as tools for personal growth. Consider this. Marcus wrote many of his deepest reflections not in the comfort of a palace, but on frozen battlefields, during grueling military campaigns, while facing devastating plagues and political rebellions. If this man, under such pressure and responsibility, managed to find inner peace and practical wisdom, what lessons can we draw for our own lives? The meditations are fundamentally about 3 transformative concepts that remain relevant today: the power of conscious perception, the importance of virtuous action, and the serene acceptance of what is beyond our control. These are not abstract concepts reserved for academic ivory towers. They are practical tools for navigating complex relationships, managing professional stress, and finding purpose in an existence that often seems meaningless. Throughout this journey into Marcus's reflections, you'll discover that Stoic philosophy is not about suppressing your humanity, but about fully embracing it while developing a broader perspective on your place in the cosmos. It's about learning to dance with life's impermanence instead of fighting against it, about finding strength in vulnerability and wisdom in uncertainty. Each chapter that follows offers not just philosophical insights, but practical applications for the challenges you face every day. From managing interpersonal conflicts to cultivating genuine gratitude, from developing emotional resilience to discovering your authentic purpose, Marcus's words serve as a compassionate yet firm guide. Prepare yourself for an exploration that will not only change how you think about life, but how you live it. Because in the end, the true measure of philosophy is not in its intellectual elegance, but in its ability to make us wiser, more compassionate, and more authentically human. This is your initiation into a tradition of wisdom that has spanned millennia, remaining as relevant today as it was on the frozen frontiers of the Roman Empire. Let's begin this inner transformation together. The first book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations stands as one of the deepest expressions of gratitude in all of human literature. It's not a superficial exercise in thankfulness, but a meticulous exploration of genuine recognition, a mapping of the human soul that traces every influence shaping us into who we are. Imagine starting each day not with the weight of your obligations, but with full awareness of all the hands that helped you get here. That's exactly what Marcus did. In his morning reflections, he didn't just acknowledge the people who influenced his life. He studied them, dissected their qualities, and drew out the lessons each one offered. From my grandfather Varus, he wrote, I learned good morals and the government of my temper. This seemingly simple phrase reveals extraordinary depth. Marcus didn't just thank his grandfather for existing. He specifically identified what he had learned from him. Stoic gratitude is not passive. It's an active tool for personal growth. This detailed practice of gratitude serves multiple purposes in Stoic philosophy. It's an exercise in humility. Even as Emperor of Rome, Marcus recognized he was not a self-sufficient human being, but the product of countless influences and teachings. It helps us identify and cultivate virtues we admire in others. When Marcus thanks his mentor Rusticus for teaching him that his character needed improvement and discipline, he's also recognizing the importance of critical self-reflection. Stoic gratitude also teaches us to find value even in the most challenging experiences. Marcus didn't just give thanks for the good things. He found reasons for gratitude in difficulties, seeing them as opportunities for growth and strengthening of character. This revolutionary perspective transforms how we approach the obstacles of daily life. Consider how you might apply this ancient wisdom to your modern life. Instead of waking up immediately thinking about what you have to do or the problems you need to solve, you could start with a reflection on the people who shaped you. Maybe it's a teacher who taught you to love learning, a friend who showed you the value of loyalty, or even a difficult boss who taught you patience and resilience. Morning gratitude practice isn't just a wellness exercise. It's a practical tool for character development. When you consciously identify the qualities you admire in others, you're creating a roadmap for your own growth. If you appreciate a friend's generosity, you're reminding yourself of the importance of cultivating that quality within yourself. Marcus also teaches us that gratitude should be specific and concrete. He didn't just write, I'm grateful for my family. He outlined exactly what each family member had taught him. This specificity forces us to truly think about our relationships and draw conscious lessons from our experiences. Stoic gratitude also extends to the circumstances of our lives. Marcus gave thanks for having good teachers, for not being corrupted by power, for being able to maintain his moral integrity, even in a position of supreme authority. Today, you can apply this principle by being grateful for the opportunities you've had, the lessons you've learned from your mistakes, and even the hardships that have made you stronger. One of the most transformative practices you can adopt is creating a personal gratitude inventory. Just as Marcus did in the first book of his Meditations, you can write a list of people who have positively influenced you, specifying exactly what you learned from each one. This exercise not only cultivates gratitude, but also helps you identify the values and qualities you consider most important. Stoic gratitude also teaches us to see our lives from a cosmic perspective. Marcus often reflected on how fortunate he was to be born into a specific family in a specific era with certain opportunities. This perspective helps us put our problems in context and appreciate the uniqueness of our circumstances. The transformative power of this practice lies in its ability to fundamentally shift our perspective on life. Instead of seeing life as a series of obstacles to overcome, we begin to see it as a series of gifts to appreciate and lessons to learn. This paradigm shift is not just philosophically elegant, it's practically powerful, creating a solid foundation of contentment and inner serenity. When you practice gratitude in the Stoic way, you're training your mind to seek value and beauty in every experience. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems or adopting a false sense of positivity. It means developing the ability to find growth and meaning even in the most challenging circumstances. It's a practice that makes you more resilient, wiser, and more deeply connected to the intrinsic value of human existence. The second book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations opens with one of the most powerful and practical passages in Stoic philosophy, a true manual for mental preparation to face the outside world with inner calm. When Marcus wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, envious, and antisocial." He wasn't fostering pessimism, but practicing a revolutionary form of psychological readiness. This morning preparation represents one of the core principles of Stoic life, the clear distinction between what we can control and what we cannot. This distinction, known as the dichotomy of control, is perhaps the most transformative tool ancient philosophy offers for navigating the complexity of the modern world. Marcus deeply understood that our inner peace does not depend on external circumstances, but on our response to those circumstances. When he mentally prepared himself to encounter difficult people, he was training his mind to maintain composure, regardless of others' behavior. This is not an exercise in resignation, but in radical empowerment. Stoic authenticity is not about following trends or meeting social expectations, but about living in accordance with our deepest values, even and especially when the world around us is in chaos. Marcus wrote, "At every moment, think steadfastly as a Roman and as a man, to do what you have in hand with perfect and simple dignity, affection, freedom, and justice." These words echo through the centuries, offering us a model for personal integrity. In the context of the 21st century, where we face constant pressure to conform, compete, and consume, Marcus's guiding principles become even more relevant. The morning practice of mental preparation can be adapted to our contemporary realities. Before checking social media, before diving into the news or daily commitments, you can spend a few moments centering yourself on your core values. Stoic philosophy teaches that virtue is the only true good. This means that no matter what happens externally, professional failures, relationship conflicts, economic changes, our ability to act with integrity, courage, justice, and wisdom remains intact. This perspective frees us from emotional slavery to external events and returns power over our own lives. Applying Stoic wisdom to daily life. Instead of starting your day reactively, immediately responding to emails or messages, create a morning ritual that psychologically prepares you for the challenges ahead. Spend a few minutes reflecting on your values, visualizing how you want to respond to difficult situations, or simply reminding yourself that you have the power to choose your responses. Stoic authenticity also means accepting that we are not perfect and that growth is a continuous process. Marcus often reminded himself of his own humanity and the areas where he needed improvement. This humility is not self-deprecation, but a realistic recognition that we are developing beings, capable of learning and growing from every experience. One of the most practical aspects of Marcus's teachings is his understanding that our perceptions shape our reality. He wrote about the importance of observing the movements of our own mind instead of getting lost in analyzing the minds of others. This wisdom is especially relevant in an age of information overload, where it's easy to be distracted by opinions, criticism, and external comparisons. Practicing Stoic mindfulness. Develop awareness of your automatic reactions and deliberately choose more constructive responses. When someone criticizes you unfairly, instead of reacting defensively, pause, breathe, and choose a response that reflects your values of patience and understanding. Marcus's guiding principles also teach us about the impermanence of all things. This awareness should not lead to despair, but to a deeper appreciation for the present and a more balanced perspective on temporary problems. When we understand that both difficulties and successes are transient, we can maintain greater emotional balance. Authentic living, according to Marcus, also involves recognizing our fundamental interconnectedness with all other human beings. Even when we encounter difficult people, we remember that we share the same human nature and vulnerabilities. This perspective cultivates compassion instead of judgment, patience instead of irritation. To incorporate these principles into your modern life, start each day with a brief reflection on how you want to show up in the world. What kind of person do you want to be today? How can you respond to challenges in a way that honors your deepest values? These simple yet powerful questions can transform how you navigate the complexities of daily life, helping you live with greater authenticity and inner serenity, no matter how chaotic the external world may be. The reflections in the third book of Meditations reveal Marcus Aurelius as a true poet of existence, someone who discovered a revolutionary way to see beauty not only in perfect things, but in the imperfections that are part of life's natural processes. This ability to find wonder in the most delicate subtleties of nature stands as one of the most transformative lessons Stoic philosophy offers us. Marcus wrote, "We should also observe that even the unintended consequences of nature's processes possess a kind of grace and attraction of their own." These words open a window to a completely new way of perceiving the world around us, a perspective that can radically transform our everyday experience of reality. Consider the depth of this observation. When bread is baked, some parts crack open on the surface. These cracks, which in a way go against the baker's art, are beautiful in their own peculiar way and especially stimulate our appetite. This isn't just a casual aesthetic remark. It's a profound philosophical revelation about how we can find beauty and meaning even in what initially seems imperfect or unintentional. Marcus's ability to see beauty in natural imperfections goes far beyond cracked bread. He finds charm in ripe figs that begin to split, in olives about to fall. The shadow of decay gives them a peculiar beauty, in the wheat stalks that bend under their own weight, in the wrinkled brow of a lion, in the foam that flows from a boar's mouth. This perspective offers us a powerful, practical tool for transforming our daily experience. Instead of constantly seeking perfection or getting frustrated by life's imperfections, we can learn to find beauty in natural processes as they unfold. Gray hair isn't just a sign of aging, it's a manifestation of the natural passage of time. Wrinkles aren't just imperfections, they are maps of our lived experiences. Marcus develops this idea further when he writes that anyone who develops a feeling for nature, a deeper sensitivity, will find pleasure in all of this, even in what seems unintentional. He will consider the jaws of living animals as beautiful as those painted or sculpted. He will calmly regard the distinct beauty of old age in men and women, and the gracefulness of children. This way of seeing goes beyond mere aesthetic appreciation. It's a spiritual practice that connects us more deeply with the natural order of the cosmos. When we learn to see beauty in natural processes, regardless of whether they meet our expectations or preferences, we develop an extraordinary capacity to find peace and contentment in any circumstance. Stoic philosophy teaches us that everything in nature has its place and purpose within the greater cosmic order. This perspective helps us understand that even what may seem chaotic or imperfect at first glance is part of a larger system of harmony and balance. The leaves that fall in autumn are not a failure of the tree. They are part of the natural cycle of renewal and growth. This wisdom has profound practical applications in our modern lives. When we face difficulties in relationships, instead of focusing only on the aspects we wish to change, we can learn to appreciate the complexity and genuine humanity of the people we interact with. The quirks of others, their imperfect ways of being, can become sources of fascination and understanding rather than irritation. At work, this perspective can transform how we deal with projects that don't go exactly as planned. Instead of seeing deviations from the original plan only as failures, we can learn to recognize that often these imperfections lead to more creative and authentic discoveries and solutions. The practice of finding beauty in the subtleties of nature also teaches us about the impermanence of all things. Marcus saw this impermanence not as something to fear, but as part of the intrinsic beauty of existence. When we understand that everything is transient, from the blooming of a flower to the phases of our own lives, we develop a deeper appreciation for each present moment. This awareness of transience should not bring melancholy, but rather a sense of positive urgency and heightened gratitude. When we know that nothing lasts forever, every sunset becomes more precious, every meaningful conversation gains greater weight, every moment of natural beauty acquires a special intensity. To incorporate this wisdom into your daily life, you can start by dedicating a few minutes each day to truly observing the natural world around you. This can be as simple as noticing how light filters through the leaves of a tree, observing the unique patterns in the clouds, or appreciating the way rain creates designs on windows. The goal isn't to force an aesthetic experience, but to develop the ability to be present and receptive to the beauty that already exists around us. This contemplative attention to the subtleties of nature cultivates not only a greater aesthetic appreciation of life, but also a profound sense of connection with the larger cosmos of which we are a part. It's a form of moving meditation that constantly reminds us that we are participants in an extraordinary cosmic drama, where even the smallest and seemingly insignificant things have their place in the grand symphony of existence. The fourth book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is perhaps the most profound and practical exploration of how to cultivate authentic serenity in a life that is often tumultuous. In these reflections, Marcus offers more than philosophical theory. He provides a true manual for inner navigation, a detailed map for finding lasting peace, regardless of the chaos that may surround us. The most revolutionary passage in this book begins with a seemingly simple yet deeply transformative observation. People seek retreats for themselves, in the country, by the sea, in the mountains, and you too are prone to desire such things intensely. But this is entirely typical of the most ordinary people, for it is always within your reach, whenever you choose, to retreat into yourself. This wisdom cuts across millennia to speak directly to our modern hearts. How often do we search for external peace in the perfect vacation, a new job, or the ideal relationship, when true tranquility has always been available within us? Marcus understood that external geography can never resolve internal turmoil, but that we can cultivate an inner sanctuary accessible at any moment. Nowhere, Marcus continues, can a man retreat with more tranquility or more freedom from disturbance than into his own soul, especially when he has within him such thoughts that by contemplating them, he is immediately in perfect tranquility. And I affirm that tranquility is nothing other than the good order of the mind. This good order of the mind is not a passive state of resignation, but an active achievement of self-mastery. Marcus teaches that genuine tranquility arises when we develop the ability to observe our thoughts without being enslaved by them, when we learn to respond consciously rather than react automatically to life's circumstances. The concept of inner retreat that Marcus develops is especially relevant in our era of constant connectivity and sensory overload. He suggests that we should continuously grant ourselves this retreat and renew ourselves, and let our principles be brief and fundamental, which, as soon as we turn to them, will be enough to completely cleanse the soul and send us back free of all discontent with the things to which we return. This practice of inner renewal does not require hours of formal meditation or physical isolation. It can be cultivated in stolen moments throughout the day. A conscious pause before an important meeting, a few minutes of deep breathing during a commute, or a brief reflection on our core values before making a difficult decision. Marcus identifies the most common sources of our inner disturbance and offers specific antidotes for each. When we feel irritated by others' behavior, he reminds us that rational animals exist for one another, and that to toughness is part of justice, and that people do wrong involuntarily. This perspective does not minimize the impact of others' negative actions, but frees us from the emotional prison of resentment. For those who worry excessively about external approval or fame, Marcus offers the cosmic perspective. See how quickly everything is forgotten, and observe the chaos of infinite time on either side of the present, and the emptiness of applause, and the fickleness and lack of judgment of those who claim to give praise, and the narrowness of the space within which it is confined. One of the most powerful techniques Marcus proposes for cultivating inner tranquility is the practice of conscious perception. He writes, "Things have no influence over the soul, for they remain external and unmoved. Disturbance comes only from within, from our own perceptions." This fundamental understanding puts the power back in our hands. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can always choose how to interpret and respond to events. Incorporating Stoic wisdom into daily life. Morning reserve. Before engaging with the external demands of the day, spend a few minutes connecting with your core principles. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? How can I respond to challenges in a way that honors my deepest values? Simplify mental and emotional life. Marcus emphasizes the importance of simplifying our mental and emotional lives. He quotes an ancient proverb, "Do few things if you want to preserve tranquility." In our age of constant multitasking and fragmented attention, this wisdom is especially relevant. Tranquility arises not from inactivity, but from focused concentration on what truly matters. Stoic inner tranquility also embraces impermanence as a source of peace rather than anxiety. When we understand that all these things change quickly and will be no more, we develop a more balanced perspective on both successes and failures. Problems that seem overwhelming today will be distant memories tomorrow. The joys we experience now are precious precisely because they are temporary. This understanding of transience should not lead to nihilism, but to an intensified appreciation of the present moment. When we know that nothing lasts forever, every experience, even the difficult ones, gains a special quality of intensity and meaning. True inner tranquility, as Marcus understood it, is not the absence of challenges or emotions, but the presence of a balanced perspective and practical tools for navigating the complexity of human existence. It is the ability to maintain our integrity and serenity even when the world around us is in chaos, knowing that we always possess the key to our own inner refuge, a sanctuary that no one can invade or destroy, available at any moment through the simple choice to turn our attention inward. The fifth book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations opens with one of the most practical and transformative passages in all of Stoic philosophy, a morning reflection that continues to resonate through the centuries, offering direct guidance on how to approach each new day with purpose and resolution. This passage isn't just abstract philosophy, it's a practical manual for living in accordance with our highest nature. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, "I rise to do the work of a human being." Why should I complain if I'm about to do what I was born for, what I was brought into the world to do? Or was I created for this, to huddle under the blankets and stay warm? These words from Marcus cut straight through our most common morning resistances, challenging our impulses toward passive comfort and inviting us to embrace our active role in the world. The genius of this reflection lies in its ability to transform a seemingly mundane moment, the simple act of getting up, into an opportunity for character development and clarity of purpose. Marcus understood that the way we start the day sets the tone for everything that follows. If we begin with resistance and procrastination, we carry that energy into our subsequent activities. If we start with clear intention and acceptance of our role, we cultivate a mindset that serves us throughout the day. Marcus's reasoning is extraordinarily persuasive. He doesn't simply ask us to ignore the comfort of warm blankets. He explicitly acknowledges that it is more pleasant. But then he challenges us with a fundamental question. Were you born to feel pleasure? In fact, to feel, not to act? This distinction between a life oriented toward fleeting pleasure and a life oriented toward lasting purpose is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. What makes this passage especially powerful is the analogy Marcus draws with the natural world. Don't you see the plants, the birds, the ants, the spiders, the bees, each doing their own work, helping in their own way to order the world? Here, Marcus invites us to see our daily work not as a burdensome obligation, but as participation in a greater cosmic order, where each individual contribution serves the common good. This perspective completely revolutionizes how we view our everyday responsibilities. Work, whether professional, domestic, or personal, ceases to be something we do just to survive and becomes an expression of our fundamental human nature. When we understand our work in this way, we find meaning and purpose even in the most seemingly routine tasks. Marcus also addresses the issue of balance and rest directly. A man needs rest too, he acknowledges, but then observes, nature assigns limits to rest, as it does to eating and drinking, and yet you go beyond those limits, beyond what is sufficient. This observation is especially relevant in our modern culture, where the boundaries between work and rest are often blurred, and where we frequently use passive entertainment as an escape from our responsibilities. The criterion Marcus proposes for evaluating whether we are living authentically is simple yet profound. Observe how people who truly love their crafts behave. Other men who love their own trades wear themselves out working at them, unwashed and unfed. The implicit question is clear. If others can devote themselves so completely to their specific work, why can't we dedicate ourselves with equal passion to the work of being human? This work of being human doesn't refer to a specific profession, but to the full range of our responsibilities as rational and social beings. It includes developing our character, caring for our relationships, contributing to the well-being of the community, and cultivating wisdom and virtue. It is the work of becoming fully human in the highest sense of the term. Applying Stoic wisdom to daily life. Transform your mornings. Instead of getting up reactively, immediately checking messages or news, create a moment of conscious intention. Ask yourself, what work of being human will I do today? How can I contribute to the order and beauty of the world through my actions? See daily responsibilities as opportunities. Every difficult interaction is a chance to practice patience. Every demanding task is an opportunity to develop perseverance. Every moment of temptation toward passivity is a chance to choose virtuous action. Marcus understood that resistance to meaningful work often arises from a limited perspective on what constitutes a well-lived life. When we see fleeting pleasure as the main goal, work becomes an obstacle. When we understand that human flourishing comes through virtuous activity, work becomes the vehicle for our deepest fulfillment. This shift in perspective doesn't eliminate the challenges of daily work, but it fundamentally changes how we approach them. Instead of asking, how can I avoid this work? We begin to ask, how can I do this work in a way that honors my nature and contributes to the common good? This simple but profound change in the questions we ask transforms our entire experience of life, creating a sense of purpose and meaning that infuses every action and decision. The sixth book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations opens with one of the most profound statements ever written about the nature of the cosmos. The matter of the universe is obedient and easily transformed. The intelligence that governs it has no reason in itself to do harm to anyone. This passage is not just an abstract observation about cosmic physics. It's a transformative invitation to understand our place in a universal order that is fundamentally rational and benevolent. Marcus invites us to see the universe not as a hostile or chaotic place, but as a living, intelligent system governed by what the Stoics called the Logos, the divine reason that permeates all existence. This revolutionary perspective completely changes how we approach both the challenges and opportunities of daily life. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims of blind or random forces, we begin to understand ourselves as participants in a cosmic order that has purpose and direction. The genius of this Stoic insight lies in its power to transform our fundamental relationship with existence. When Marcus writes that all things are accomplished by the nature that presides over the whole, he offers us a perspective that can free us from the existential anxiety that so often paralyzes us. If the universe is governed by a rational intelligence that contains no malice, then we can trust the process of life even when we don't fully understand its developments. This cosmic trust is not naivete or wishful thinking. It's a sophisticated philosophical stance based on careful observation of natural order. Marcus noticed how everything in nature, from the movement of the planets to the growth of plants, followed rational and predictable patterns. This observable order suggested the existence of an intelligent organizing principle, which the Stoics identified with the cosmos itself. The Stoic concept of providence differs drastically from conventional theological notions. It's not about an anthropomorphic God who intervenes capriciously in human affairs, but about an immanent rationality that constitutes the very structure of reality. This providence is not external to the world. It is the world operating according to its deepest nature. Understanding this frees us from both fear and arrogance, allowing us to consciously cooperate with cosmic processes rather than struggle against them. Marcus develops this idea further when he writes, "Either the universe is a confused, tangled mass about to be dispersed, or it is an ordered whole under providence." This is not just an academic distinction. It has profound practical implications for how we live. If we choose to see the universe as chaotic and meaningless, our lives become exercises in cynicism and despair. If we choose to recognize the underlying order, our lives gain meaning and purpose. Consciously navigating the universe requires developing what Marcus calls the governing part of the soul, our capacity for reason, which connects us directly to the cosmic logos. This is not a mystical or supernatural connection, but the recognition that our ability to think rationally is a local manifestation of the universal rationality that governs the cosmos. This perspective has transformative practical applications. When you face a particularly difficult challenge, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you can ask, "How can I consciously align myself with the cosmic processes unfolding through this situation?" This shift in perspective transforms you from a passive victim into an active participant in the universal order. Marcus teaches that we are all working together for an end, and each person plays their part in the great cosmic symphony. This understanding cultivates both humility and empowerment. Humility because we recognize we are just small parts of something much greater. Empowerment because we understand that our role, however small, is essential to the functioning of the whole. The practice of consciously navigating the universe also involves developing sensitivity to natural rhythms and patterns. This can be as simple as observing the seasons and letting their cycles inform your own rhythm of activity and rest, or as profound as recognizing that the ups and downs of your personal life are part of broader processes of growth and transformation. One of the most powerful techniques Marcus offers is the practice of cosmic perspective. When we feel overwhelmed by daily problems, we can consciously expand our perspective to include the larger context. Think of the universal substance, of which you have a very small portion, and of universal time, of which a short and indivisible interval has been assigned to you. This is not an attempt to minimize our concerns, but to place them in a perspective that restores balance and serenity. Stoic navigation of the universe also recognizes that change is the only cosmic constant. All things now existing will quickly change, Marcus observes, not with melancholy, but with serene acceptance. When we understand that impermanence is a fundamental feature of cosmic order, we stop resisting change and begin to flow with it. This ancient wisdom offers especially relevant guidance in our era of rapid change and global uncertainty. Instead of feeling uprooted by constant transformations, we can recognize them as expressions of fundamental cosmic vitality. The universe is always in motion, always creating, always transforming, and we are conscious expressions of this perpetual cosmic creativity, capable of deliberately participating in the ongoing evolution of reality. The seventh book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations marks an extraordinary moment in his philosophical journey. Here we find some of his deepest reflections on the interconnected nature of reality. In this book, Marcus articulates with remarkable clarity one of the most revolutionary insights of Stoic philosophy, that everything in the universe is bound together in a sacred web of relationships and mutual dependencies. All things are linked with one another, Marcus writes in one of the most evocative passages of his work, and the connection is sacred. Practically nothing exists without connection to anything else. This is not just poetic language, but a profound observation about the fundamental structure of reality, a realization that can radically transform how you perceive your place in the world. The genius of this Stoic vision lies in its power to free us from the illusion of isolation. Marcus understood that the feeling of being separate, disconnected, or alone in the world is fundamentally a misperception of reality. When he writes that everything is interwoven and the web is sacred, none of its parts is disconnected, he offers a perspective that can heal the existential alienation so common in modern human experience. This interconnection is not abstract or merely theoretical. It manifests in very practical and observable ways. Marcus notes how things push and pull one another, breathe together, and are one. This collective cosmic breath suggests that we are constantly participating in a dynamic exchange of energy, influence, and substance with everything around us. Stoic philosophy teaches that this fundamental interconnection is governed by what they called sympathia, a cosmic sympathy or resonance that links all beings and events. This sympatheia is not sentimentality, but a real physical force operating throughout the cosmos, ensuring that nothing happens in isolation. Every action, every thought, every choice you make resonates through this cosmic network, influencing and being influenced by countless other elements. For Marcus, recognizing this interconnected reality had profound ethical implications. If everything is truly connected, then our individual actions have consequences that extend far beyond what we can immediately see. What harms the hive harms the bee, he observes, using a metaphor that has become one of the most memorable expressions of Stoic ethics. This understanding completely transforms how we approach our daily responsibilities. We can no longer justify selfish or destructive behavior by claiming it only affects me. Every choice we make, from how we treat a store clerk to how we respond to stress at work, sends ripples through the interconnected web of existence. Marcus develops this idea further when he writes, "We are born to work together, like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct one another is unnatural." This is not an idealistic statement about how things should be. It's a realistic observation about how things actually are. Cooperation is not just preferable. It is the natural expression of our fundamental interconnection. Practical application in modern life. In an age of extreme individualism and constant competition, the Stoic understanding of interconnection offers a radical alternative. When we recognize that the well-being of others is intrinsically linked to our own, collaboration becomes not just a smart strategy, but an expression of cosmic reality. This perspective also provides a solid foundation for developing genuine compassion. When Marcus writes about having sympathy for those who hurt us, asking what good or harm did they think would come of it, he is not asking us to ignore harmful behavior. He is inviting us to recognize that even those who act destructively are part of the same interconnected web, and that their ignorance or confusion is ultimately a wound in the whole of which we are a part. The practice of consciously recognizing this interconnection can begin with simple but transformative exercises. You might spend a few minutes each day tracing the invisible connections that sustain your existence, from the farmers who grew your food to the engineers who design the roads you use, from the writers whose ideas shaped your thinking to the friends whose support sustains your emotional well-being. Marcus also understood that this interconnection extends through time. Everything that happens to you was waiting to happen since the beginning of time, he writes, suggesting that our individual existence is part of a much larger cosmic pattern unfolding across generations. This perspective can be deeply comforting during difficult times, reminding us that even our challenges are part of a greater process of growth and transformation. Stoic wisdom about interconnection also teaches us about impermanence in a way that fosters acceptance rather than despair. When we understand that we are part of a continuous cosmic flow, constant change becomes less threatening and more wondrous. Nature loves nothing so much as to change what exists and create new things like it, Marcus observes, inviting us to see transformation as an expression of universal creativity. This understanding of interconnected realities also offers a profound answer to the question of meaning. If we are truly part of a sacred cosmic web, then our lives have meaning, not just through our individual successes, but through our conscious participation in the ongoing evolution of reality. Every moment of kindness, every act of courage, every virtuous choice contributes to the well-being of the whole. The Stoic vision of universal interconnection does not eliminate individual responsibility. On the contrary, it intensifies it. When we recognize that our choices reverberate throughout the entire web of existence, every decision becomes a sacred opportunity to contribute to the harmony and beauty of the cosmos. It is a perspective that transforms both our everyday experience and our deepest understanding of purpose in life. The 8th book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations marks a moment of profound personal honesty and philosophical clarity. Here, we find the emperor-philosopher at his most vulnerable and paradoxically most powerful, directly confronting the gap between his ideal aspirations and the reality of his existence. This section is not just about finding the true path. It's about accepting where we are on the path and consciously choosing to move forward with integrity. Marcus opens this book with one of the most courageous passages in all of self-reflective literature. This also leads to contempt for vainglory, that it is no longer within your reach to have lived your whole life, or at least your life since youth, in pursuit of philosophy. This is not false modesty. It is a brutally honest assessment from a man who recognizes that, despite being emperor of Rome, he has not lived up to his own philosophical standards. The genius of this admission lies in its ability to free anyone from the paralyzing pursuit of perfection. Marcus understood that the quest for a reputation as a perfect philosopher can itself become an obstacle to true philosophical growth. For you, as for many others, it is evident that you are far from philosophy, and so you are stained, and it is no longer easy for you to acquire the reputation of a philosopher. This radical honesty opens the door to a much more important question. If we cannot be perfect, how can we still live authentically? Marcus's answer is both simple and profound. If you have truly seen where the issue lies, set aside the question of what men will think of you, and be content if you live the rest of your life more or less as your nature desires. The true path, according to Marcus, is not found in seeking external approval or crafting a perfect image, but in discovering and aligning with our authentic nature. This nature is neither capricious nor selfish. It is the rational and social part of us that connects us both to the cosmic order and to the human community. Marcus specifically identifies where this authentic quest must begin. If he holds firm the doctrines on which impulses and actions depend. What doctrines are these? Those concerning good and evil, that nothing is good for a man that does not make him just, temperate, courageous, and free. Nothing evil that does not produce effects opposite to these. These fundamental doctrines, justice, temperance, courage, and wisdom, are not abstract concepts, but practical tools for navigating daily choices. The true path is not found in a dramatic revelation, but in the consistent application of these principles to every decision, no matter how small. One of the most powerful passages in this book compares 3 types of people through a fascinating historical lens: Alexander, Caesar, and Pompey. What are they compared to Diogenes, Heraclitus, and Socrates? For these saw reality and its causal and material aspects, and their ruling selves were self-determined. But as for the former, how much was there to provide for, and how many things were they slaves to? This comparison reveals a profound truth about two fundamentally different paths through life. The conquerors and emperors, despite all their external power, were slaves to their ambitions and circumstances. The philosophers, seemingly less powerful in the world, possessed something far more valuable: genuine autonomy over their own minds and lives. Marcus implicitly asks us, what kind of person do you choose to be? One defined by external achievements and others' approval, or one who finds freedom in understanding reality and mastering their own impulses? The true path also requires a transformed relationship with time and mortality. On the occasion of each act, ask yourself, how does this relate to me? Will I regret this? But soon I will be dead, and all things will have passed away. What more do I need if my present work is the work of an intelligent and social being, subject to the same law as God? This awareness of impermanence should not cause anxiety, but clarity. When we understand that our time is limited, trivial worries naturally fade, and important choices become clear. The question is not how much time we have, but how consciously we use the time given to us. Marcus also teaches the importance of accepting obstacles as an integral part of the authentic path. Even if you break your heart, nevertheless, they will do exactly the same. This seemingly pessimistic observation is actually liberating. When we accept that we cannot control others' actions, we free ourselves to focus on the only thing we can control: our own responses. The true path is both personal and universal. It is personal because each person must discover and live according to their own authentic nature. It is universal because that authentic nature, when truly understood, always leads us to virtues that benefit not only ourselves, but the entire human community. To begin walking this true path, you can apply the practice Marcus developed. Before each important action, pause and ask, does this action reflect the person I want to be? Does it contribute to my growth in justice, courage, wisdom, and self-mastery? Will I look back on this choice with pride or regret? The true path is not about perfection. It is about conscious progress and consistent integrity. It is about choosing, moment by moment, to live according to our highest values, regardless of external circumstances or others' expectations. When you find your true path in this way, you discover that you don't need to convince anyone of your virtue. It becomes evident through your actions. You don't need to seek external approval because you have found internal approval through alignment with your most authentic nature. And you don't need to fear death because you know you have lived according to principles that transcend physical existence. This is Marcus's invitation. Stop searching for the perfect path and start walking authentically on the path before you, guided by the eternal principles of virtue and the wisdom that arises from radical honesty with yourself. The 9th book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations confronts one of the most challenging questions of human existence: how to live authentically in a society where values are often distorted, where injustice seems to thrive, and where external pressures constantly push us to compromise our integrity. This book offers no easy answers or superficial comforts. It provides a deep, practical philosophy for navigating the moral complexity of the real world. Marcus opens this book with one of the most powerful statements about the fundamental nature of injustice. He who commits injustice acts impiously, for since universal nature created rational beings for one another, to help each other according to their merits, and in no way to harm one another, he who transgresses its will is clearly guilty of impiety against the supreme divinity. This passage reveals a profound understanding of the fundamentally social nature of human beings. We are not isolated creatures competing in a brutal Darwinian struggle, but rational and social beings whose well-being is intrinsically linked to the well-being of others. When we act unjustly, we do not merely violate social norms, we betray our own deepest nature and disrupt the harmonious order of the cosmos. Marcus's concept of impiety goes far beyond conventional religion. For him, to be impious is to live against the natural order of the universe, against the rationality that governs all things. When we lie, cheat, or harm others, we are fighting against the very structure of reality. This perspective completely transforms how we approach everyday ethical choices. Each decision becomes an opportunity to align ourselves with or rebel against the cosmic order. One of the book's deepest insights is Marcus's understanding of how evil arises in society. He observes that he who pursues pleasure as good and flees pain as evil acts impiously. This observation strikes at the heart of many contemporary social problems. When a society is organized primarily around the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain, it inevitably creates unjust systems that privilege some at the expense of others. Stoic authenticity demands that we transcend this pleasure and pain mentality. Marcus argues that we must be indifferent to things to which universal nature is indifferent. This does not mean apathy or insensitivity, but a balanced perspective that recognizes neither pleasure nor pain is inherently good or bad. They are simply natural experiences that are part of human existence. When faced with the injustice of others, Marcus offers a revolutionary approach. When another blames or hates you, or when men say something harmful about you, approach their poor souls, penetrate within, and see what kind of people they are. This practice of empathetic understanding is not naivete or weakness. It is a sophisticated technique for maintaining our own integrity while effectively dealing with destructive behavior. Navigating modern complexity. The complexity of the modern world presents unique challenges to living authentically. We are constantly bombarded with contradictory information, pressured by conflicting social expectations, and faced with ethical dilemmas the ancients could never have imagined. Yet the fundamental principles Marcus articulates remain strikingly relevant. Clarify your core values. Stoic authenticity in a complex world begins with clarifying your fundamental values. Marcus repeatedly emphasizes that nothing is good except what leads to justice, self-control, courage, and wisdom. When these values become your moral compass, you can navigate even the most ambiguous situations with integrity. Practice personal responsibility without guilt. One of Marcus's most practical techniques is the practice of personal responsibility without guilt. If you can, correct by teaching those who do wrong. But if you cannot, remember that indulgence was given to you for this purpose. This approach recognizes that we cannot control others' actions, but we can always choose how to respond in a way that honors our deepest values. Embrace social responsibility. The Stoic concept of social responsibility is deeply relevant to contemporary challenges. Marcus writes, "As you yourself are a component part of a social system, let every act of yours be a component part of social life." In a globalized and interconnected world, this wisdom takes on special urgency. Every choice we make, from how we consume to how we vote, has repercussions far beyond our personal experience. Redefine success and failure. Stoic authenticity also requires a transformed relationship with external success and failure. Marcus observes that even if you break your heart, nevertheless, they will do exactly the same. This insight frees us from the need for external approval and allows us to focus on the only thing we can truly control: the quality of our own actions and intentions. Practical application. To apply this wisdom in daily life, develop a regular practice of reflecting on your motivations. Before making important decisions, ask yourself, does this action reflect my deepest values? Does it contribute to the well-being of the broader community of which I am a part? Am I acting out of genuine integrity or out of fear of others' disapproval? Living authentically in a complex world also requires the courage to accept that we will not always be understood or appreciated by others. Marcus reminds us that many do not even know your name, and many will soon forget it. This cosmic perspective should not lead to despair, but to freedom. When we understand that external approval is fleeting and often superficial, we can focus on what truly matters, living in accordance with our highest nature. Stoic authenticity in a complex world is both an individual challenge and a collective responsibility. When we live according to the principles of justice, courage, wisdom, and self-control, we not only improve our own lives, we contribute to the creation of a more just and harmonious society. It is a way of being that recognizes that individual good and the common good are not opposites, but complementary aspects of a truly fulfilled existence. The 10th book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations stands as one of the most intimate and transformative moments in his entire philosophical work. Here, we encounter the emperor philosopher in a deeply personal dialogue with his own soul, questioning when he will finally achieve the inner peace and balance he so earnestly seeks. This section is not just about finding balance. It's about discovering the art of being truly human in a life that constantly challenges us to grow. Marcus opens this book with one of the most moving and universally resonant passages in all of philosophical literature. Will you ever, O my soul, be good, simple, unified, and naked, more manifest than the body that surrounds you? Will you ever experience a loving and affectionate disposition? Will you ever be full and without wanting, desiring nothing more, longing for nothing, animate or inanimate, for pleasure? These questions reveal the extraordinary vulnerability of a man who, despite possessing all imaginable earthly power, recognizes that true balance is not found in external circumstances, but in inner transformation. The naked soul Marcus seeks is not a stripping away from all that is human, but the discovery of our most authentic essence, free from layers of social conditioning, fear, and compulsive desire that obscure our true nature. The genius of this reflection lies in its understanding that genuine balance is not a passive state of conflict-free existence, but an active condition of conscious contentment. Marcus does not seek to eliminate all desire. He seeks to transform the quality of desire, shifting from an insatiable thirst for more to a deep appreciation of what already exists. Will you not be satisfied with your present condition and content with everything that surrounds you now, and convince yourself that you have everything and that all comes from the gods? This perspective completely revolutionizes our understanding of what it means to live in balance. Instead of constantly trying to adjust external circumstances to fit our preferences, we learn to cultivate a quality of consciousness that finds fulfillment even in imperfect conditions. It's not about passive resignation, but about actively recognizing that life, as it is, contains everything we need for our growth and fulfillment. Marcus develops this idea through a deep understanding of our threefold nature as human beings. First, we are physical creatures with basic bodily needs. Second, we are animals with natural impulses and emotions. Third, and most importantly, we are rational and social beings capable of consciously choosing how to respond to life. Observe what your nature requires as long as you are governed only by physical nature. Then do it and accept it if your nature, as part of the animal world, is not worsened by it. This hierarchy of needs offers a practical guide for finding balance in daily life. Physical needs are legitimate and should be met, but they should not dominate our existence. Animal emotions and impulses are natural and should be understood, but not dictate our choices. Our rational and social capacity is what allows us to transcend lower conditioning and choose responses that serve both our well-being and the common good. Stoic balance also fully embraces the reality of change and impermanence. Marcus observes that whatever happens, happens in such a way that your nature can bear it or cannot. If it happens in such a way that your nature can bear it, do not complain, but bear it as it is your nature to do. This understanding transforms our relationship with life's difficulties. Instead of seeing them as unwanted disruptions to our balance, we begin to recognize them as opportunities to strengthen and deepen our inner stability. One of the most practical insights from this book is Marcus's recognition that true balance is not a destination to be achieved, but a continuous practice to be cultivated. He does not write about achieving a perfect state of serenity. He writes about the ongoing process of moving toward that serenity, moment by moment, choice by choice. To apply this wisdom in modern life, you can start by developing what Marcus practiced: a regular and honest assessment of your inner state. Instead of asking, "Why don't I feel balanced?" you might ask, "How can I respond to this situation in a way that honors all dimensions of my nature: physical, emotional, and rational?" Stoic balance also involves a sophisticated understanding of the relationship between need and sufficiency. Marcus questions when his soul will be full and without want, not in the sense of having everything it desires, but in recognizing that it already has everything it needs. This distinction between need and desire is fundamental for finding balance in a consumerist culture that constantly convinces us we need more to be happy. The practice of finding balance in being also requires a cosmic perspective on our place in the universe. Marcus constantly reminds us that we are part of the perfect living being, the good and just and beautiful, which generates and sustains all things. This awareness of our participation in a greater order offers both humility and purpose. We are small in the cosmic context, but essential to the harmonious functioning of the whole. True balance, as Marcus understood it, is not the absence of movement, but the ability to maintain your center even while in motion. It is like a tree that bends with the wind but does not break, or a dancer who maintains grace even in the most dynamic movements. It is the art of being fully present in life as it is, while simultaneously working consciously to become the person you are called to be. When you find this balance in being, you discover that you don't need to fight against life. You can dance with it. You don't need to control every circumstance. You can choose how to respond to each one. And you don't need to reach a final state of perfection. You can find peace and fulfillment in the ongoing process of growth, learning, and compassionate service to the world. The 11th book of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations stands as one of the deepest explorations ever written on the nature of the rational soul and the process of self-discovery. Here, Marcus articulates with exceptional clarity his understanding of what it means to be truly human, not just as a biological creature or social animal, but as a conscious manifestation of cosmic rationality, capable of knowing itself, shaping itself, and directing itself according to its own enlightened will. Marcus opens this book with one of the most extraordinary statements about the unique properties of the rational soul. These are the properties of the rational soul. It sees itself, analyzes itself, and makes of itself whatever it chooses. This capacity for self-observation and conscious self-transformation is what sets us apart from all other forms of life. While plants produce fruit for others to consume, the rational soul enjoys the fruit it produces itself, meaning the benefits of our growth and development belong directly to us. This fundamental autonomy of the rational soul reveals a profound truth about human nature. We are not passive products of circumstance, but active architects of our own existence. It achieves its own end, wherever the limit of life may be set. Unlike a dance or a play, where interruption leaves the performance incomplete, the rational soul can always say, "I have what is mine," no matter when death may come. The soul's capacity for self-perception goes far beyond simple introspection. Marcus describes how it ranges through the entire universe, and the surrounding void examines its form, stretches into the infinity of time, and embraces and understands the periodic renewal of all things. This cosmic perspective is not just an intellectual exercise. It is a transformative practice that connects us with the universal order of which we are a part. One of the book's deepest insights is the recognition that true self-discovery does not happen in isolation, but through understanding our fundamental social nature. Marcus identifies as an essential property of the rational soul love of neighbor, truth, and modesty, and valuing nothing more than itself, which is also the property of the law. This apparent contradiction, not valuing anything more than itself while simultaneously loving others, reveals a sophisticated understanding of authentic individuality. The true self is not an isolated ego competing with other egos, but a local manifestation of universal rationality that naturally harmonizes with all other manifestations of that same rationality. When Marcus writes that right reason does not differ at all from the reason of justice, he is articulating a fundamental truth. When we truly discover who we are, we simultaneously discover our harmonious place in the wider human community. Marcus also offers practical techniques for this inner discovery, including the method of discriminative analysis. You will value pleasant singing, dancing, and exercise little. If you break down the melody of the voice into its various sounds and ask yourself about each one, if you are dominated by it. This practice of analytical decomposition is not meant to destroy aesthetic appreciation, but to free us from compulsive attachment that clouds clear perception. The process of discovering the true self also requires a transformed relationship with death and the separation from the body. What an admirable soul is one that is ready and resolved, if it must, at this moment, be released from the body, to be extinguished or dispersed. This preparation for death is not morbid, but liberating. When we stop identifying exclusively with the physical body, we discover aspects of our nature that transcend mortality. Marcus specifically contrasts this serene attitude with what he saw as the excessive drama of the Christians of his time, who embraced martyrdom with what he considered unnecessary theatricality. For Marcus, the strong soul accepts separation from the body without heroics, with the quiet dignity that comes from recognizing that our true essence cannot be destroyed by external circumstances. Discovering the true self also involves understanding our relationship with the community. Marcus observes that when people cut themselves off through hatred, they do not realize they are cutting themselves off from the total civic enterprise. This insight reveals that isolating ourselves from others is simultaneously a betrayal of ourselves. We truly cannot discover who we are apart from the network of relationships that sustains and defines us. One of the most powerful techniques Marcus offers for this discovery is the practice of 9 considerations to keep in mind when someone offends us. These are not just strategies for dealing with conflict, but tools for discovering aspects of our own nature through our responses to others' actions. How we react when treated unjustly reveals much about who we really are. The 11th book also emphasizes that discovering the true self is a continuous process, not a final destination. The rational soul makes of itself what it chooses. This choice does not happen once, but in every moment, through every decision, through every response to life's circumstances. Applying this wisdom in modern life. Cultivate conscious self-observation. Instead of automatically losing yourself in emotional reactions, pause and ask, who is choosing to respond this way? What aspect of my nature is manifesting right now? This simple but profound practice develops the capacity to see yourself that Marcus identifies as fundamental to the rational soul. Have the courage to abandon false or limited identities. The rational soul has the power to make itself what it chooses, but this requires the courage to choose consciously rather than simply following habitual patterns or external expectations. When you discover your true self in this Stoic way, you find not an inflated ego or a rigid personality, but something far more extraordinary, a dynamic capacity for conscious response that naturally harmonizes with the cosmic order and spontaneously contributes to the common good. You discover that your most authentic nature is not in conflict with the world, but is a unique and essential expression of the universal wisdom that governs all things. Embrace the present moment like a traveler who, after a long journey, finds unexpected refreshment at a hidden spring. Marcus Aurelius reminds you that to achieve everything you desire, You don't need to wander through mental labyrinths or accumulate plans for the future. It's enough to let go of thoughts about the past and entrust the future to providence, regulating the present according to nature. This simple Stoic directive gives you back the power to live fully here and now, freeing you from the chains of nostalgia and anxiety. Imagine the present as a delicate jewel that only shines if you're able to hold it with attention. Life is not a succession of archaeological memories or an engineering project for tomorrow. It is only the present moment that is lived or that can be lost. When you understand this truth, each instant takes on the grandeur of an expanding universe. The now contains the entire cosmos, and every breath becomes an act of conscious creation. Cultivating presence in a future-focused world. How can you cultivate this presence of mind in a world that values what's yet to come above all else? Start by recognizing your inner dichotomy. There is what's under your control, your perceptions, judgments, and choices, and what's outside it, circumstances, others' opinions, unpredictable events. By clearly distinguishing these two spheres, you limit your concerns to the domain of virtuous action, accepting with serenity what nature decides beyond your reach. Practice a brief exercise in attention at dawn. Before letting yourself be absorbed by messages and tasks, spend a few minutes noticing your body, your breathing rhythm, and the stillness of your mind. Ask yourself, what intention do I choose to bring to this new day? How can I serve the common good through my inner work? This morning ritual creates a direct channel between your deepest purpose and the actions you'll take, preventing you from drifting unconsciously through the whims of daily life. The Stoic formula for embracing the present. The Stoic formula for embracing the present also involves letting go of distracting mental scenarios. Whenever you catch yourself wandering through past failures or projecting future catastrophes, interrupt yourself and return to the starting point. The instant this sentence fades and you are pure awareness, it's in that inner silence that your true power resides, the ability to choose every second the response you want to give to external stimuli. A helpful metaphor is to imagine your mind as a mirror. When a leaf falls and lands on the glass, the reflection is disturbed. But if you can restore the mirror's clarity, you'll see the leaves fall without becoming attached to it. In the same way, you always have the power to erase your evaluation of things and return to that safe harbor of inner tranquility. The essence of this teaching is that you only suffer when old judgments are projected onto the reality of the moment. Embracing the present doesn't mean ignoring the lessons of the past or giving up on planning for the future. Rather, it means using both dimensions as tools in service of virtuous action now. The past offers you acquired wisdom. The future reminds you of moral urgency, since, as Marcus notes, mortality is a constant reminder that our available time is limited. Still, neither of these spheres deserves to occupy the throne of your attention. The present is where you can actually exercise your free will. The gardener within, an analogy. Reflect on this analogy. You are the gardener of your inner world. The past is the already decomposed organic matter, the soil that supports the roots. The future is the seeds yet to sprout, the projection of your aspiration. But your hands work only in the moist earth beneath your fingers, in this exact moment. It's here that you can remove weeds, like destructive emotions, and cultivate the flowers of virtue, justice, temperance, courage, and wisdom. Every moment of conscious cultivation strengthens the roots of your serenity in an irreversible way. Deepening the practice. To deepen this practice, try the mental laser beam technique. Whenever you feel scattered, focus intensely on a single object of your experience: the taste of the water you drink, the sound of a distant bird, the gentle warmth of sunlight on your skin. By doing this, you reset your cognitive system, switching off autopilot and restoring the strategic clarity that lets you choose responses aligned with your rational and social nature. You can also use reflective questions to expand your awareness of the present. What sensations are truly present in my body at this exact moment? What thoughts are stirring in my mind? And do any of them help me live more virtuously? How can I use this moment to act with kindness, even in the face of unexpected challenges? These questions act as internal compasses, guiding you back to your main path whenever you stray into unproductive self-criticism or anxiety. The courage to embrace the present. Finally, remember that embracing the present is an act of courage. It means taking full responsibility for your own life. Marcus urges you to live each day as if you were a novice in the role of a wise emperor, aware that every small action reverberates throughout the entire cosmic symphony. When you make the present your stage, every gesture, no matter how humble, becomes part of a universal dance of cooperation and order. By embracing the present moment, you discover you don't need to wait for a grand event to feel fulfilled. Gratitude blooms in the now. Serenity takes root in lucid acceptance of circumstances, and purpose manifests in the daily choices to act well. No matter how discreet, life, after all, does not happen in a remembered past or an imagined future. It unfolds in all its beauty and complexity in this brief instant resting in your hands. As we bring this journey through the echoes of Marcus Aurelius's wisdom to a close, I invite you to slowly return to your inner refuge, like a traveler who, after crossing vast territories, finds comfort in the familiar contours of home. Every lesson you've explored, from conscious gratitude to the subtleties of nature, from the dichotomy of control to the cosmic dance of the logos, has been cast like a stone into deep waters, sending ripples that now resonate within you. How do you feel when you recall the transformative power of giving detailed thanks for the people and experiences that have shaped you? And when you remember the morning ritual of preparing to face the day with dignity and inner freedom, can you sense that spark of courage lighting up in your chest? Allow these ancient exercises to gently dissolve into your daily life, like the final notes of a song that linger in memory long after the musician has left the stage. Take a moment to breathe deeply and imagine your mind as that clear mirror we learned to polish, wiping away every unnecessary judgment. Notice the present, the distant sound of a clock, the calm pulse of your body, the continuous flow of your breath. This moment, and no other, is the true seat of your conscious existence. Here, you rediscover the order of the soul, the starting point of all the virtues that have become your companions on this journey. Perhaps you recall the metaphor of the inner gardener. In the moist soil you've cultivated throughout these chapters, you now have roots of serenity, branches of resilience, and flowers of virtue ready to bloom. Let the soil you've prepared now sustain every new seed of intention, courage to act, temperance to balance, justice to guide, and wisdom to discern. Before we finish, ask yourself, what virtuous choice do you want to cultivate tomorrow? What cosmic perspective can you bring to your challenges so that every obstacle becomes an invitation to grow? When you lift your gaze to the vastness of the universe, do you feel yourself part of a loving and intelligent whole, where even the smallest action reverberates in the sacred fabric of existence? With this spirit, let go of any trace of unnecessary urgency. Allow the tranquility you've learned to cultivate to resonate in every simple gesture, savoring the first sip of water, offering a genuine smile, paying full attention to your next step. These quiet actions, when aligned with Stoic precepts, become gems of fulfillment. And finally, remember, the true journey does not end when you close the book or turn off the screen. It continues in the silence of your daily life, in the natural rhythm of the seasons, in the relationships you nurture, and in the projects you embrace. Every time you choose to look forward before reacting, every time you distinguish what you control from what lies beyond your power, you honor the legacy of Marcus Aurelius. Now go, step by step, along your own path of excellence and serenity, guided by the inner compass you've discovered in these meditations. May your heart remain open, your mind alert, and your will steadfast. After all, life is a breath of now, and it's up to you in every instant to transform it into an expression of virtue, wisdom, and universal love. Until our next shared silence, may peace and clarity always accompany you.